Hello, happy Sunday morning, guys. Welcome back to the Honorary Latina. Today's topic is going to be fake media, but really the truth behind it, failure, is the fake Republicans. Why we're on the subject of fake, I would like to wish Senator John McCain a good recovery. Just had surgery. I know that you're going to need to recover to get on board so we can pass some immigration reform, John. The state of Arizona is doing wonderful under Jan Brewer. Anyway, my topic today is going to be how the Republicans sold us out because of their fakeness. I did a lot of activism in the state of Oregon. To say the least, I did a ton of activism in that state. It was a very, very, very liberal state. But we moved some major legislation that probably shouldn't have been moved in that state. And so I thought that the Republicans would be on board to block the DREAM Act. I learned very differently. I learned that the media wouldn't be so liberal if the owners weren't big-time globalists. And along with the big-time globalists was in the Republican Party as well. And these people have these agendas for open borders and for cheap labor, and all at the everybody's expense. So who pays for something that happens to somebody that gets injured on work? We do under the Medicaid program. So it takes away what should be entitled for poor Americans and gives to people that are coming into our country illegally. It rewards them in a way, makes them want to come here because they have a sea and bevy of benefits, and they are able to find work. So a lot of these people that were employing the illegal immigrants were GOP senators like Gordon Smith, who, by the way, lost his seat to a liberal, which, it came out that he employed many illegal immigrants, and, they packaged his peas or green beans or whatever. So anyway, this guy, he didn't do a very good job. He kind of did the George W. Bush. He kind of met everybody in the middle, and didn't stand behind the principles of what the Republican Party was all about, which, it's a rule of law. So anyway, I come to Florida thinking that I did a good thing. I helped pass legislation in a state that was very liberal. And I come to find out that Florida, a Republican state, led by Republican leaders, passed the DREAM Act here. And Jeb Bush was one of these guys that betrayed the Republican Party. So I found out that all that hard work that I did, serving with a group of veterans, and not all of them were Republicans, and we had a few Democrats on board too, but they were veterans and they were older than me, and I was the only woman among them. And it's all nonprofit, which means that somebody poured money into this agenda for the people. And somebody was a scapegoat on that agenda, and somebody got a lot of media coverage and was being called a bigot and a racist and not getting paid for her hard work at all and being branded the scapegoat for the GOP party. That's me. So I want to address that. I understand what Mr. Trump is going through. It wouldn't be so much the media if the people in the Republican Party stood behind him. And for example, why I won't support the Republican Party, and I'm going to tell you why. I get an email. It's all on Mr. Trump, and it says, we really value your opinion, but we got to fight the liberal media. This is such a bunch of bullshit. So I fill out my little questionnaire, like answering all the questions and what's important to me. And I get down to the bottom and it says, would you like to donate, to fight the liberal media? But the donation doesn't go to Trump per se. It goes to the GOP party. And you all, I am done. I am stick me with the fork done supporting the GOP party because this party doesn't support me. I came to Florida thinking I would make an impact here in the state, and the only impact I made was I got little emails from insiders to show up at little open ends to be part of the little posse that follows around some of these famous politicians, not that they invited me to their private little parties or anything, but I did some media events and that kind of thing. And we needed a token Hispanic to stand by the side of Rick Scott. And Rick Scott, that actually helped Jeb Bush allow the DREAM Act in the state, and I think there was a senator involved in that one too. I think it was Jack. Let Bala like you, Jack, but I think that legislation is wrong. We have Pam Bundy, who is this wonderful attorney general, but she, instead of fighting the immigration issues and that kind of thing, or doing anything on immigration, she's just focused on drugs, and I think that's great that you're doing what you're doing with that, but I think that immigration is also should be at the top of the forefront, because where do you think the kids get access to heroin and drugs when they can't get the oxycodone? Well, they get it from the Mexican cartels, and so we don't really address the sex slave rings or the crime going on with some of these very hardcore people that are in this country. So another thing that we don't address is terrorism, because with an open border, especially in the state of Texas, which is actually Bush country, and I don't think that Greg Abbott is doing a very good job. People say he's wonderful, but I really fail to see how he has really done anything. When I went through Texas about 5 years ago, drove through there, every car was parked in the parking lot. Nobody was patrolling the border. In fact, the Mexicans were camping on our side of the border, and they had houses along the fence. And every place I stopped, every convenience store I stopped, was nothing but illegal aliens in those stores, and owners were illegals as well. So Texas is being taken over, and I guess they feel like we took Texas from them, so they're going to reclaim their territory. And the GOP is, handing them that, in a silver basket, basically. So what we're not understanding is also Texas is a big Muslim area because of the oil, and so when we talk about terrorism and stuff like that, I saw my very first burqa when I visited Texas. It was horrible. It was in the middle of the summer. It must have been 110 out. I never experienced anything so hot in my life. I went to church with my friend, and I was coming back from church, and through the Walmart parking lot, and I tell you, I'm sorry I shop there, but sometimes I do out of desperation, especially when I'm not doing good financially, which is all the time. I was going through the parking lot, and I saw this woman all in black. It looked like a Halloween costume. And I realized it was a Muslim woman, and I spun myself around staring at her, because I'm thinking, damn, must be hot wearing that thing over her face, and all you could see was her eyes. And there I am in my little chi-chis, with my boobs hanging out, and a low-cut dress, and my friend was telling me I was flashing too much boob. And of course, it's Muslim country, so maybe I was, but so what? This is America, and if I want to show my assets, I should. and I think that for anybody, what makes this country so great is the freedom that we have, the freedom of speech, the freedom to say and do and go where we want to go and not be oppressed. But I think what truly oppresses us is these bloated budgets that are giving a sea of benefits to illegals, and I think the federal government has no business promoting it, and they do, because in our Planned Parenthoods, the signs were all in Spanish. The questions on the questionnaire was, are you pregnant? Are you a migrant worker? And do you speak Spanish? Like, why would that even be relevant? Really? And if you check those, you were at the front row seat. In the schools, under No Child Left Behind, after George Bush passed that legislation with Ted Kennedy, all the kids with IEPs sat in the back. They sat in the back. And all the kids that got service in both languages sat in the very front. And so I saw a big change, and I wanted to make a difference. And I realized I didn't make a difference with our GOP party because they didn't value me as a person. They didn't respect me as a human being. And they really had this agenda to work with the left to open the borders and say, oh, these poor people, we must let them in because they are Hispanic. Like it was some sort of golden ticket to come into this country. But if everybody was to do what the Hispanics did or doing in vast amounts, we wouldn't even have a country left. And so I see the whole fallacy behind this bloated elephant party was there was so much money to be made off of exploiting workers, and that's what it boiled down to. And I think really what Mr. Trump you need to do, you need to focus on is taxing the companies, the corporations that hire the illegals. You know, make them pay about 40 grand in taxes and you know, per like violation or whatever. Just tax them big, you know, and make them pay for the sea of welfare benefits that they're collecting and all the services. And if they have to, be accountable in some way, because it works well in Russia. I tell you, they don't have illegal aliens in that country anymore. I think that less people would be hiring illegals, and you're going to be paying people what they're worth, and you'll find that you'll have less people in prisons and more people out in those fields picking if you can get that picking up to minimum wage. And you know what? The fruit is not going to be any more expensive because you know what? Instead of outsourcing it and shipping it off to Australia and all these fucking countries supporting the global rich, we can have our own wonderful produce here in the United States and enjoy it and not buy shit from Guatemala and all these fucking Mexican countries that are spraying the old pesticides on our stuff and going, here, like, eat our shitty fruit, give me your good fruit. It's wrong. And when you see what the global trade did, and you see how these Republicans really hurt our country, not help, you'll understand that we have to get more people like Mr. Trump in office because he understands what makes America great, and that's not selling us out. And so we could be part of this big global one, whatever, you know, because I certainly don't want to pair up with the Middle East or with Russia or with China. And these people hate us. And you know what? We have to stand strong because if we don't, we're not going to be standing at all. Enough said. Have a great day.